That's better. Welcome to the Digital Formation Friday webinar. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for everyone who's been with us so far. Thank you for anyone who's new. My name is Colin Chapman. I'm a senior seminarian here at the General Theological Seminary in New York City, and I'm here today with
Benjamin Wallace. Thanks, Colin.
who's another senior seminarian here. He's uh, taking over for Joseph for the day. He's going to be helping us out with some questions and getting some links up on Facebook. For any of you that are new to our offering here, this is a program through the General Theological Seminary and the Episcopal Church Center here in New York City. We try to teach social media and new media with a theological framework. We don't treat churches like they're small businesses, but we talk about what we're doing with the center message being about relationship. We're talking to both lay people and clergy here, letting all get involved, and we offer a series of webinars and guest speakers here on campus. Trainings we do. We just did a training for the Diocese of Long Island last weekend, if anyone is listening. And we also will be offering some on-demand content soon. Especially for today, check us out on facebook.com/digitalformation. Like we did 2 weeks ago with our apps, we're going to be linking all the sites that we talk about today. Ben's going to be posting those up, so it's facebook.com/digitalformation, and follow us on Twitter at digiformation. That's at digiformation, as you can see on your screen. Just so I know everything's working right, if someone could just tell us in the questions that their audio and video is working fine, that will ease some of my anxiety that I have as well. Maybe. All right, we're going to keep going. So we are 3 things before we start. First thing is make sure you come along for the ride. Just want to see. Yep. Come along for the ride. We might talk about some things today that are a little new to you, some things that might be a little uncomfortable. Particularly when we're talking about QR codes, one thing we're going to be talking about is taking out cell phones in the middle of church. That is a sensitive issue at times. It kind of causes a little bit of anxiety. It's certainly something new. We're not saying you have to do it, but that's kind of part of this QR game, just part of it. So come along, see how it feels. If at the end of the webinar you think this was a complete waste of your time, accept my apology in advance, but see how this works before ruling it out. Know that everything that we do is about relationship. So even though we're talking about how to get the word out for your church in a few ways, we're not talking about marketing your church as what's the best way to invite people into relationship with you. And then finally, this is a la carte. We might talk about some things today you love. We might talk about some things you don't. You don't need to take the whole package, but if there's some ideas, if there's anything that just gets the spark going in your mind, that's great too. So our topics today, we're going to be talking about QR codes. Today is a time to play. This is the last QR that we have, webinar that we have this academic year. We have another one coming up this summer, but we'll take a hiatus for the rest of the summer. So we thought it would be fun to talk about some things that we can just play with. So we're going to talk today about what QR codes are. We're going to talk about how to make them. Some of the feedback we got last week on the apps was we didn't talk about how to make apps. So today we're actually going to talk about not just how to use QR codes, but we're going to talk about how to make them, why you should use them or why could you use them. Then we're going to show some concrete examples. We're going to demo how to do a lot of the work that we do today and post some links on our screen. So here we are. The streets we fill with children playing. It's okay to have a little fun in church sometimes. I give you my permission if you needed it. But make sure you get your bishop's permission first before having any fun. That's what they teach us in seminary. So what is a QR code? Many of you might have signed up for today's webinar and thought, like, I don't even know what a QR code is, but I'm going to come along for the ride. Up on the screen right now, that is a QR code. And for some of you, you might go, oh, I had no idea. I've seen those around. I've seen them in the city. I've seen them on buses or street signs or in movie theaters. I've never known what I was looking at. Now you know. It's a QR code. QR stands for quick response. They were first used in car parts, a way to track manufacturing parts, but they've evolved. I think this is now the 3rd or 4th iteration of what the QR code can do. So there you have it, and we're going to talk a little bit how to make one. But what can it do? So we know it can track car parts. It's like a barcode, but the way we use it today is through mobile devices. It's a way to transmit URLs or internet links to internet sites. It's a way to track texts to like documents or just text on a screen. It's a way to transmit contact information, and we'll talk about how to use all those for your church in a minute. Um, but so when you're surfing the web and you see a link, you know you can click it. When you're out about on the street or in your house, or if you see a product, you can't click a link. What a QR code is, almost think of your cell phone as a mouse, and that is your link that you can click it with your cell phone, and it loads up on your cell phone. So again, there are two aspects to QR codes. One is how to use QR codes, and one is how to make QR codes. And so first, we're going to talk about how to use a QR code. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to, oh, actually, this is what we're going to do. We have a neat app here that lets you see what's on a cell phone. And because most QR codes are used on a mobile device, that's what we're gonna do today. So we're gonna load up our cell phone, hopefully. This worked when we were demoing it before. All right, we're gonna try again. Sorry for the technical difficulty. There it is. There we go. So this is, and you can mirror your iPhone 4S, or an iPad 2, I think. So this is actually our friend Ben's here iPhone. So we're going to talk about what apps to use in a second, but I just want to show you how a QR code works. So we're going to load up a QR code for you very quickly, like this one here. All right, so this here is a QR code. You have a QR code. You might see a QR code on a sign. You might see it on a product. You might see it on a piece of paper. But you take an app, such as this one here, and it lets you scan it. And we're going to talk more about apps in a second. And so see, it registered that it was a QR code. And notice automatically on the app, it knew what this was. And I can now click Go to URL. And now it's automatically going to load our Digital Formation Facebook page. We actually have business cards. Our Digital Formation business cards are our logo that you see on the screen. And on the back, all it is the QR code. It's kind of a fun way to transmit links. So I'm just going to show you that one more time using this app. See that scan button there? I'm going to tap the scan with camera, and then this new interface shows up, and it targets, and it knows it's a QR code. Very easy to do when you have an app. So let's talk about what you can do to how to use the QR codes. We're gonna actually skip ahead. There, like I said, most of the time it's on your computer, on your your mobile device. If you're on iOS, I recommend the app that we just used right now called Crafter. That's Qrafter. And so maybe, Ben, you can find that from the iTunes store and post the share link.
Great.
That would be awesome. And then on Android, because we had a lot of feedback from 2 weeks ago's app thing about not talking about Android phones enough. I apologize. I've done a little bit of research ahead of time this time. If you're on Android, it seems like the best one out there is QR Droid. So with an iPhone, go ahead and download Crafter. I think the free one is fine. And then if you click the arrow there, that arrow, Um, and then if you're on the Droid, you can download QR Droid. We'll post both of those up onto our Facebook page, facebook.com/digitalformation. So that's how you use a QR code. But I think as leaders in the church, today we're a little bit more interested in how to generate them, how to produce them, what's the best way to integrate them into what we do. So I want to talk about a great website out there called qrstuff.com. qrstuff.com is one of a ton of websites that lets you generate QR codes. And it's actually really easy to do this. So I'm going to go over this a few times when creating kind of the various examples we have at the end. But here on our screen is qrstuff.com. And you see on the left-hand side, there's a ton of just different options. The best bet is the URL. And so if I want to create the digital formation QR code, all I need to do is in this website URL space, just type in a link, just like you would if you're going into your browser. Facebook.com/digitalformation. And as you notice, if you saw while I was typing, this over here changed in real time. So this is now our QR code. I click download QR code, and right away, here it is on our screen. We have our own unique QR code that we can now scan. Boom, and it knows the link. So it's very easy to create a QR code. It's very easy to scan a QR code. So qrstuff.com works very well. We're going to use that for the rest of the webinar. But if you're on a computer and you want to generate QR codes on your own, if you want to generate quite a few or kind of keep track of them, there's some great desktop applications you can use. One for the Mac operating system is QR Codes. It's a $2 app. I find it works pretty well. And then another one for Windows is called Quick Mark. So we'll put those up on the Facebook And I think those are some interesting ways. If you prefer not to use a website and just want to use a native application on your computer, you can do that too. Let me just show you what this is what QR Codes looks like. It's a Mac app. You see here, it lets you, very similar to the way QR Stuff works. Do I want to send an email? Do I want to make a website? Do I want to send an SMS? So it lets you have all those options. It works really well. Some people prefer working with programs. Some people are a little bit more comfortable with working with a website. So before we go into making the URL codes and kind of through all these demos, I want to talk about something that hasn't come up before, but it's going to be helpful in this this particular situation. But it's URL shorteners. So I'm going to go into Safari here for a second, and I'm going to go to our facebook.com digital formation page. Actually, a better example. This is going to be, so this is a fine. So you see this, our URL up here is http://www.facebook.com/digitalformation. And I know you've seen websites that are much longer than that before too. One thing when you're working with QR codes, the more characters you have in a QR code, the more complicated this image is going to be. Now, a QR code scanner can read any of it, but the less detailed it needs to be, the easier it is to scan, and the kind of cleaner it looks as well. And so we're going to talk about a few websites today that have very long code. So real quickly, I wanted to go over about URL shorteners, and I'll tell you why, when I demo them, why they're so useful. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to load. We're going to come back to this in a minute, in a little while. But I'm going to load a file from my Dropbox. In a way, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves because we're going to talk about this Dropbox feature in a second. Not everyone knows what Dropbox is, but it's very helpful if you don't. But we're going to talk about it, I promise. So you see up here, this is a very long URL. This is very difficult for me to tell someone. So I can't say, so this is my resume. I can't say someone go to dropbox.com/s/2. You see that doesn't work for communicating. But I can copy this link, and you can copy a link by Control-C or File or Edit Copy. And then I'm going to go to a website, bit.ly. We pronounce it bit.ly. This is what's called a URL shortener. It's very neat. I can now paste my URL in this field here, and automatically it knows, it automatically has shortened it to something much shorter. So this is bit.ly/kln_np5. Now, what bit.ly allows me to do one step further than that is lets me customize that URL. So I can now click Customize, and I could name it. So I'm going to call it Colin Chapman Dropbox Resume. Doesn't need to be that long. I don't know why it shows it that long. But I can click Customize. Now, if I wanted to give someone my resume, I can just say, hey, go to bit.ly, bit.ly/Colin Chapman Dropbox Resume, and they're going to have access to my resume. It's a good way to share a link if you don't have, if it's a long link, you just want something easy to remember. Now, we can take a small URL like that, and we can drop it into something like QR stuff, and we can go ahead and make a QR image out of it. So by pasting in here, and now this is going to be, our code is going to be that smaller link. So if you have documents that you want to share easily, or you want to kind of talk to people easily about, it might be nice to create your long web links into these smaller shortened URLs. I like bit.ly because it does let you customize your URL. I think that's a great feature. If you make a user account, you can track everything that you've done before. So I think it's really neat. Google also has a shortener, goo.gl. So go.gl is a shortener. It works really well. As far as I see, there isn't a customize feature. But you can use Google as well. All right, so that's some of the basics. So we've showed you how to use QR stuff to create a QR code. We've talked about some web apps like Crafter and QR Droid for your phone to access these codes. So now for the rest of the time, I'm going to go over a handful of examples to demo some of the ways that your church can use QR codes creatively and effectively. When we do this in our live presentation, this gets a lot of energy because it is a lot of fun, and you're going to start seeing some really kind of neat tricks that you can add in to your bulletins or to the back of your church. And people like doing this. They like taking out their phone and kind of scanning these items. It's a little bit of a game. And so I think if you try this at home or try it on your own, I think you can see it is a little bit of fun to do this. One of the downsides to QR codes is that everyone does need the reader already on their cell phone. It would be nice if the people at Apple and the people at Google built the QR reader into their OS. I don't think they're large enough yet, but I think we're getting that way. But knowing the companies, Apple's going to make their own QR code and Google's going to make their own, and they're not going to be compatible with each other or something like that. But who knows? So anyway, so here we go. We're going to demo websites, email, how to transmit information. We're going to talk about directions, how to like your church directions, how to use QR codes for PayPal donations, how to share sermons, and how to share files. So here we go. So we've already showed you how to do a website, but again, to make a website, it's nice and easy to do. all you need to do is go to the website you want to share. So this is our digitalformation.eventbrite.com site. You see, this is our last scheduled event for the time being. It's a little bittersweet. And all you have to do is copy that text and then go to a website like qrstuff.com and put it in the URL. Download QR code. And on my Mac here, it automatically pops up. And I'm just going to show you all using our app that the code works. And you see our URL loads up on our phone. So that's the page. Really easy way to share your link.
Colin, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, totally. Please.
Does any barcode reader scan QR codes?
You mean like in a store or on a phone?
I mean on an app. Sorry, any barcode reader on an app.
Most do.
Yeah.
Some are just specifically barcode. That's a good question. Some
so if you downloaded one for like shopping, and that could very likely be used for this.
Yeah, often now a lot of apps have QR code readers built into them. What did I see the other day that the Starbucks app has a QR code reader built in. I don't know why, but it does. But I honestly do know why. On Starbucks has QR codes on their coffee. You can scan it. So I don't know.
On their coffee bags?
Yeah, on their coffee bags.
Wow,
yeah.
that's clever.
Yeah, and so yeah, like they are everywhere nowadays. Actually, I have. Maybe we'll scan one. We're not.
Yeah.
We're not going to plug Starbucks, but so here.
Yeah, Starbucks is not funding digital formation.
This is Starbucks coffee, and you do see that Starbucks has a QR code on their coffee.
Uh-oh.
On a bumpy surface too.
Not the best.
Oh well, and there's a bit of glare too. Well,
I guess consider what you put your QR code on.
Yeah, you don't want to. So maybe it's not the best on coffee. So there. And that's a good point too. There are a lot of different QR apps out there. Great point. So that's doing a website. Another way, if you want to add your email address, if you want to put that, let's say, next to your name in a church bulletin or on a business card, although we're going to get back to business cards in a second. At qrstuff.com, there's a bunch of options here on the side. You'll see that there's actually an email address option. So you can type in an email address. It downloads the QR code. And you'll see when we scan it. There it is. And now I can just click the send email button, and the email, I can send an email right away. So I didn't need to type in the email address. So those are two very basic ways to transmit some information. So your website and your email. But those are very simple. What about some more interesting options? So we're going to go back to qrstuff.com. And I'm going to show you two ways to transmit your own personal contact information. One, on the side, you'll see that there is a vCard option. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm actually going to enter in my personal information here. Did it work? Yep. And now it created a very complicated vCard URL. But we're going to download it, and I'm going to show you what pops up. So I put in all my information there, and it's downloading the code. There it goes. And now you notice it's a lot more information on this code than there was on just the URL. But pending any technical difficulties, you'll see that it doesn't matter so much. So I am scanning from a monitor, and it often doesn't like that. There it goes, but it scanned. And now, look, popped up on the screen. That's my contact information. So instead of me telling you my contact information, if this was the back of a business card, you could have just turned over the business card and scanned it into your phone and share contact that way. Digital Formation is going to have a booth at General Convention next month now. Oh my gosh, it is just next month now. And we're going to actually have badges that you can come by and pick up. You can give us your information. We'll print you a QR code with our logo next to it, and you can stick that on your General Convention badge. And so when you meet old friends or meet new people, if you want to give them your contact information, they can just scan your badge for all that. It's going to be really neat. You're going to want to come by and check out the GTS Digital Formation booth while you're at General Convention. So that's one way to make a QR code through your information. Another way, I found kind of a neat iOS app that I like. It's called QR Beam. Let me load it up for you. I'm having a hard time. It's called QR Beam. There it is, QR Beam. QR Beam lets me do something very similar. That if I have a contact V card myself, I can just drag it in. Maybe I need to drag it in from my address book. So if I have a contact from my address book, this is I can drag it. There it goes. And now it creates a QR code from my V card in my address book. So if you don't want to type in all your information, you can use a QR Beam, this QR Beam app for Apple. One of the neat things about the Apple OS right now is this App Store, and it's coming to the Windows atmosphere too, is it just creates a lot of fun little apps like this. So I think you're going to see a lot more little kind of gimme apps like this for the Windows operating system in the near future. There might be one for the Windows out there too. I don't know. So my screen's getting a little messy. I'm going to close some of this down. So that's it. So QR Stuff has that great way to transmit information. So if you want to create your own V card that way, you can. A lot of fun. What about directions? So what if if you have a flyer for your church or an event on your church, you wanted to share directions on how to get to your church? So instead of having someone to go to Google and type in all your information, make it really easy for them with a QR code. Let me show you how to do that. The first thing you'd want to do is go to Google Maps. Many of you hopefully are familiar with Google Maps. Hopefully many of you have already gone into your church's information on Google Maps and edited it and claimed it. Make sure you claim your Google Map information and search for your church. We're going to use General Seminary today. We'll use the General Theological Seminary. So first you want to find your location in Google Maps. And it should show up on your web browser. And then you can click the Directions button on here. And when you click the Directions button, you'll notice up here a little link shows up. I can click the link. Boom. And now a link to my site, my Maps site appears. Google has this nice option where I can click the short URL, and it's going to automatically... I had a problem with this earlier today too. Sometimes it's automatic and sometimes it's not. I think it's a bug in the Google system, or maybe the way my web browser works. Let's try again. Okay, so it didn't shorten it. But anyway, but it gives us this link right here. So I can go ahead, I can copy this link, and hey, if I want, I can go to goo.gl, and I can shorten it. And now I have a shortened link automatically, goo.gl, whatever this text is. Again, we go back to our QR Stuff site. You're going to get tired of that, but oh, that's not it. There we go. So now I can enter in that Google URL for those directions, and I can download the code. Now watch, this is really fun. So now I have my code here. I'm going to scan with my camera. Now I'm going to say go to URL. Now watch this. It's going to go ahead and it loads up the mobile Google Apps right away. There's your church's location. And then we can say get directions. And right away, this lets your users get directions from wherever they are to your church. So if they have a QR app, oops, if they have a QR app on their phone, so if you have a flyer or a church bulletin or even your sign outside your church, you can get a sticker. This is a really neat way to get your directions out there, so it's real easy for people to get there. And again, I just want to drive it home that it's not about marketing. It's not about just using tech, but this is an act of hospitality. We talked about Google Directions in our hospitality webinar. How do you make it easier for someone to access your church? How do you make it easier for someone to access your community? The more barriers you take away from that process, the greater an act of hospitality it is for the people that you're working with, reaching out to. So that's Google getting directions using Google Maps. Now, this one I think a lot of you may be interested in. This is one of my new favorite ways to use a QR code, but it's how to add a QR code to your church bulletin to link it to your PayPal donation site.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, no, this is actually a lot of fun. So PayPal offers a PayPal nonprofit. I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty on that today. That actually is probably another webinar for another time. But there's a lot of great places like PayPal, Google Checkout that allow nonprofits to have an account. And for a very nominal fee, not much different if you had a credit card reader in your church, they allow people to donate through PayPal. So your church can start a PayPal account, link it to your church's business account, and then someone can go to paypal.com and donate. I actually don't have a church that I can use, but I am going to use a nonprofit organization. This is an organization that my wife's involved in. This is Baby Wearing International. They support parents how to properly kind of wear and some of the benefits of wearing your baby, a newborn baby, even older babies. But as you see, this is their website here, and they have a donate button. This orange, yellow-orange donate, that means it's a PayPal button. So when you see I can click the donate button, and it's going to bring me to their PayPal site. And right away, I can say an amount. Let's say I want to donate $5. I can update that total. I can log into PayPal if I have a PayPal account set up, and I can easily make that payment. This is a really fast way to make a one-time donation to a church. So how do you put that in your bulletin? Sure, you can add this to your bulletin. No one's gonna go home and type that into their browser. Or you can make a Google URL. So same process applies. So we're gonna go back a page. So here's the donate button. Nope, that's not how we're gonna do it. I lied. Sorry. So you want to click through the donate to your church's donate button. If your church is linked to PayPal, you're going to already know kind of where this is for you. But this website here, I'm going to copy this very long URL. So this one definitely needs a Bitly shortener because that QR code is going to be massive. So then we're going to go to Bitly. And we can copy it into the box and paste it, but I've actually already gone ahead and made that Bitly link. So it's actually right here. So I'm going to copy my old Bitly link, and I'm going to go into QR stuff. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make a website out of that. Generates the code. So now this created a QR code that I can copy into my bulletin. I can put in the back of my church. I can scan that code, and when I scan it, I'm going to go to URL, and you'll see it's going to bring me to a mobile I've been bringing to a mobile site that didn't necessarily work. Oh, and actually, we're not linked to the screen anymore, so you couldn't see that it didn't work. For some reason, it didn't go through. It worked better on the demo when I was making sure this all worked before. But it brings up PayPal. Maybe if I open in Safari, it's still not working. Still not coming up. Yeah. Well, it does work, and it brings up mobile PayPal, and it works out very nicely. And so if you have a someone who wants to just make one donation to your church, or forgot their envelope and they just want to make their tithe that way, or just if you just have generally on your bulletin, you may make a donation. You can do that way too. So that's creating a QR code using your PayPal Donate Now button. We're just having a slight technical difficulty getting our mirroring back on our phone. I don't know what's going on. This is live. This is the beauty of live broadcasting. I mean, you know that. Um, all right, it's not showing up. One more try. One more try. It broke Ben's phone. That's what just happened. All right, so we're gonna keep going. All right. So what about posting sermons? What about What about if you want to share your sermons? What if in the back of your bulletin you had, hey, good to go listen to last week's sermon? You could put the address easily, or you can, or you could go ahead and add a QR code. It's a little bit more fun, a little more catchy. It might drive a little bit more traffic to your sermon. So one way. So let's talk about this. So there's two different kinds of sermons. Obviously, they're audio and they're video sermons. So let's show you an example of both of those. So one common thing I see a lot of churches do is they post their sermons or post videos up on YouTube. But we can go to. We're actually going to load up a good friend of ours, Father Matthew, for Father Matthew Presents, and we're gonna demo using one of his more recent videos. This is one he just did on Episcopal Charities. Episcopal Charities Sunday is next Sunday. It's Mother's Day Sunday. So you have your YouTube video that you like. So any YouTube video has this share button, and when you click share, it gives you a nice already shortened YouTube link. So you know the drill. You copy, and then you can send it into QR stuff and make a code from your YouTube video. Again, any YouTube video, it's that easy. You click share, you copy the link that shows up here, and you can put it in QR stuff, and it will give you a link to the video. What about an audio podcast? Same type of thing. We're going to load up the audio podcasts. So if you host MP3s on your church's website, or anywhere for that matter, you can easily host that MP3 and make. So we're here is our friend Ben here's senior sermon. If you click download, you notice that the link at the top of the screen now says .mp3. We can copy that to QR stuff, and now that will make a link to download the MP3. You click download, and that pops up. Right there. So I want to try one final time before I give up working with our app here. There we go. Thank goodness, because this one's kind of fun.
Oh, great.
So if I load our app and scan the code, you'll see that it's the MP3. But if I open the URL in Safari, and this will work the same way on an Android phone, the browser is smart enough to know that's a file, and will start playing the MP3. And actually, it's playing through my computer right now. So that's a really neat way to get sermons on your phone, and you can download and listen to them that way. Cool. Moving right along, we have just a few more kind of things to show you. One is how to get files. What if you wanted to share your minutes from your vestry meeting easily in your bulletin or the back of your church? When I say the back of your church, I kind of imagine, you can play with this all you want, I imagine almost like a piece of paper with a QR code printed on it in like one of those like little plastic stands with a sign that's like, get next week's vestry minutes here, and then you can go ahead and scan that, or donate to our church here, or scan it. So you can have like a little thing in the back of your church with the QR code. One thing I haven't gone over is QR stuff lets you adjust the color of the QR code too that it generates. So if you want a blue QR code, or your church has a green theme,
So you can use the liturgical colors.
yeah, you could. Yeah. So let's say we're
We're in Easter.
We're at Easter, but let's
Yeah.
say we're doing this in Pentecost.
There we go.
Right? You can have bright red code. Yeah. So if you want to print it in color, you can do that too. That catches people's eye. And while we're here talking about QR code, the QR stuff, is you notice you have some other options where like you can get your QR code printed on other things too. So if you wanted to make mugs with your church's QR code, I don't know. This is silly too. You can make chocolates with QR code.
Really?
So this is really in a rubber stamp. I mean, you could really get really creative and really fun with these QR codes. So if you wanted to rubber stamp your church's directions or something, you can just stamp that on.
I think it's a great idea, actually, because I can imagine myself like being out. If I just had that around, I could just stamp it for somebody so they could scan it. Fastest way to give directions ever.
Yeah, or you can do guerrilla church marketing if you wanted to.
You could.
So that's sidebar, some different things on QR stuff. But what about files? So a website I want to talk about briefly is called Dropbox. I'm kind of a Dropbox advocate, fiend, however you will. Dropbox is a website that lets you store files. It's free. You get 2 gigabytes for free. And now you might have heard it recently in the news. Google just released what's called Google Drive, google.com/drive. It's a similar function to Dropbox. What both of these services do is you can select a folder on your computer to automatically sync with this web service. So all your files are automatically online. It's completely secure. They use kind of high encryption. I actually back up all of my documents on my computer to Dropbox. So whenever I have a document on a computer, I know it's automatically backed up there. So if I lost my computer, I wouldn't lose any of the text documents. Now, music and movies are a little too big to store on Dropbox. It'd take up too much space. But if I lost my computer tomorrow, I would have all of that information that I have on here because it syncs automatically all the time. On the screen here, you can sign up for a free Dropbox account at bit.ly. I used our bit.ly. bit.ly/digiform Dropbox. You can sign up there, or just go to dropbox.com. But you can use that referral link, bit.ly/digiform Dropbox. Sign up for a free account. I think it's an invaluable tool to have. So why do you want a Dropbox account? It's a great, cheap way to store files online. Here is my Dropbox. This is exactly what the file structure of my documents folder on my Mac looks like. These are all the files I have in my computer. I actually have quite a bit of space on my Dropbox. You can buy more space if you want. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to, I have my resume stored here, so it's a PDF. And you notice it loads the PDF right here. But now what I love about Dropbox over Google Drive, and I think Google Drive has some great features to it too, but they essentially all do the same thing, except Dropbox lets you share links to files, so you can host files using your Dropbox. So if you're on Dropbox.com, any file now has this Get Link option. I can click that link, and now it makes a link that I can give people to my resume. So I can now host all these files. So you can use your Dropbox to host your church minutes, your annual meeting, MP3s, even if you wanted to, and now generate that link through Dropbox. And if you're paying attention, you know what to do. You can take that and then you can save that. You can make it a smaller link using something like Bitly or Google, right? You save it, you shorten URL, boom, your short link. We can load QR stuff. And there we go. And then we download the code. So same process over and over, kind of just drilling it in. And then now you'll see when I scan this file, when I open in Safari, what this is going to do is it's going to cycle through a few pages. But what you're going to wind up happening is it's going to let me open my PDF. See, now I can download the PDF onto my phone. And there you go. So that's a great way to share a file. So if you want to share your minutes without using paper in the back of your church, you can say, hey, download our minutes here. Or in the back of your church. There's a lot of different ways that you can use that as well. Now, I'm a little concerned something's not working. I don't have any questions showing up in the question bar. And typically that's we do get quite a few questions. There are people still present in the oh, for some reason they haven't been showing up on our second display, only on my monitor. Let's close that down. Is this something? Oh, this is very strange. So there have been questions coming in through the whole session. Let's go ahead and look at some of them. Wow, oh, a bunch. I'm so sorry that we've been missing these. I really am. But before we get to questions, nope, you're right. Before we get to questions, I want one last link I want to talk about, and we'll put this up on Facebook too. bit.ly/100 QR code tips. I made a Bitly shortener for you. This really neat website. It's just 101 uses for QR codes, and I'm gonna let Ben type that into our Facebook. And I'm going to visit the site for a second just to show you. Here are just a ton. There are really literally 101 ways, and I'll read through them. I mean, some of them are silly, some aren't relevant at all to a church setting, but some of them are really neat. You can have a lot of fun with these. And the goal is to have fun. One thing Joseph and I were talking about doing with digital formation, we didn't get to do it this Lent, we hope to do it next, is what would it look like if you did a QR Stations of the Cross, and you just had QR codes, and you just kind of scanned them and got a multimedia experience on your phone. Audio, video, maybe a movie representing each cross. I don't know, you can try that out. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and we'll look at some questions. I don't know why they weren't popping up. Paul actually asks a really good question. What is the app that lets you show iOS on the MacBook, please? Reflection? Yes, it is Reflection. It does cost. It's a free 10-minute trial, but it is $15 to use permanently. So you can download Reflection. But another thing, Paul, the newest version of no, I'm wrong about that. Yeah, $15 Reflection. That's a good question to do what we're doing here with our URLs. Jason asks us about the Microsoft Mobi tag. Yeah, Jason, you're right. Microsoft does have its own proprietary QR code that uses cyan, magenta, and yellow triangles. You might have seen that as well. Let me see if I can load an example of a Microsoft Mobi tag. But that's a good. We were talking in the beginning about Amazon or Apple and Google kind of getting into a fight over who has the best QR code. You're right. Microsoft does have its own proprietary QR type code. If the tech world would just please all agree on one format for all of it, we'd live in a better place. But they try to use these proprietary things to tie us into their own software. Open is better, and that comes from an Apple person. I know that's strange, but open is better. Good question. Yeah, yeah. Rick asks that he's seen QR codes with bundled icons or logos included in them. That's doable. It is doable. I don't know how though. So I think one of the best things that we can do, if we can Google it together, QR with logo. Let's see if that gives us anything helpful for Rick here. How to put your logo in a QR code. Boom. Oh, this
might not be the best.
Yeah, this is complicated. There's easier ways of doing it than this. I think there's generators out there too. So honestly, what we might do for you, Rick, is we'll try to find something and then post it on our Facebook for you later. But that's a good question. Rick also says that GTS is raising the bar. Thank you, Rick. I agree, and I got to tell you, this is not the end of GTS's offerings when it comes to digital formation. The whole administration is really behind what's going on here, and I think in the next few months, particularly next year, you're going to see what digital formation means to the church and general seminary grow as we start looking at other things such as distance learning, some more technology in the classroom. Digital formation is certainly something that I think general seminary is focused on. Yeah. Yeah. Did I say claim church address on Google? What does that mean? Chandra, that's a great point. This is something we've talked about before. So I'm going to go ahead. This is not QR code related, but since the question was asked, I think this is a really important question. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to load up my field placement, the Church of St. Luke in the Fields, on Google Maps. So this is really interesting. So notice here, this is the church's Google Maps. And if I click the A and I click More, you'll notice it says Edit Details. I can now click Edit Details, and because I have a Google account, I can edit this information. I can change the phone number. I could change the website address. It's because it's all open, and this is the way that Google kind of helps keep its location information current. You don't want anyone to have the ability to do this to your church. So find your church on Google. Go to the More and edit information. And see this link here? Claim your business. Make sure you claim it. I've actually sent this to the church to let them know that people can do this. They haven't done it yet. But you can sign in and you can claim it, and it will mail your church a card with a confirmation code. You can go ahead and enter the confirmation code. It's a great process. But anyone can go into any location on Google Maps and edit the information. So you want to make sure you claim your church. It would be incredibly malicious for someone to go into your church and change all your information. I mean, it could happen. I don't think it's going to, but better safe than sorry. Cheryl says that her church is afraid to use online donations. Yeah, that's too bad because I think it's a great way to target a new market. Cheryl, one thing that we offer with digital formation is to talk to churches and vestries. So if you want to email us at digitalformation@gts.edu, you might be able to set up a time to talk to whomever at your church and maybe kind of have a little discussion on kind of easing some of that anxiety that comes with it. Alan Kohert says that I know that Google automatically creates QR code for every shortened link in the details. Wow, let's see if that's like that could be, and that's fantastic. If I didn't know that. So we're gonna go to goo.gl and we're gonna type in let's type in gts.com, gts.edu/digital. I'm gonna shorten link and then details. Oh,
That's
get out of
awesome.
town. That's really great.
That's so cool.
So I hope everyone saw what just happened. So you can go to goo.gl, enter in your URL, and click details, and it did automatically generate. Now my question is, it's a very small QR code. So I mean it will work, but yeah, we're gonna scan it here. Yeah. See, one of the problems with the Google generated QR code, it's so small that it's so small that it's a little hard to scan. So, but I think that's a great suggestion. So you can use the goo.l uh, goo.gl website. Thank you, Alan. Great tip. In your experience, does changes in the colors impact the quality of the QR code? Not much. I think it does a little, but we have green on our badges and it works fine. Larry mentions that complete with Google Drive, Dropbox will soon be increasing their free space from 2 to 5 gigabytes. I haven't read that myself. Maybe that's new news today, Larry, but I don't doubt that in the slightest. Really, it is. I think Dropbox is the better format, and I think it should update. Yeah. No. So yeah, I think you're right about that. Eric says you have a web server. Can you host files on that instead of Dropbox? Completely. That's probably the preferred way. But for churches that don't have their own web server space, Dropbox is a good alternative. Kimberly asks if the new Dropbox link option requires the receiver to have a Dropbox account. It does not. It's an incredibly public link that anyone can use. It's a really neat feature. Oh, Susan mentions a great point about going back to claiming. You're right. You need to claim your Facebook place as well. If your church has a Facebook page, that's different than a profile. It gets a little confusing. But if your church has a Facebook page, they need to claim it. So we're gonna go to facebook.com/digitalformation and see, ours has been. We've claimed ours. I'm pretty sure. So you're gonna want to do that on Facebook too, and I think it's this little gear as well. Maybe we'll try to remember to throw up information on how to claim your Facebook page. But you're right. Your Google Map site and your Facebook page need to be claimed. How about QR codes for the hospitality donation box at Fellowship for PayPal? Yeah, totally. What if that little cash box you have at coffee hour, you say, thank you, Kimberly. At coffee hour, you say, hey, throw in a few bucks, to help with coffee hour. If on that little box you have your QR code where people can throw in $5 easily. I rarely carry cash in my pocket, but it's so easy for me. Ben and I actually were out the other night with friends. And one of us didn't have our a credit card, and someone else paid, and we were able to just send money to the person through PayPal. It's so much easier to give that option, particularly to kind of an up and coming generation that it doesn't carry cash, that has cell phones and has cards in their wallet. It's a great way because I think for a while churches are losing money because people don't carry cash. But if you have a QR code with a PayPal link, I'd gladly throw in $5. Cheryl also asks about if it's a PNG file, how can you enlarge it without losing clarity? I think because it's just boxy, it's just kind of you can kind of zoom in without it kind of pixelizing because it is just pixels itself. Some QR generators offer you size options. You can create small ones, such as the Google one was a little bit small, but you can make that very large in your bulletin. But honestly, your bulletin, it's not going to take up that much space anyway, so that might not be too much of an issue. I can, yeah. So I can enlarge the PNG file. Okay, thank you, Cheryl. So you can enlarge the PNG. Did I read that wrong? Oh, I'm sorry. Cheryl said because it's a PNG file, you can lose it without losing clarity. I read that wrong. Yes, fantastic. Great. And what about Twitter? Do you have to claim it? No, you do not have to claim your Twitter account because that's something that is tied to one person. Even if, yeah, okay. So that's all. This has been a really great webinar. Really, really great questions. Thanks for sending them in. I'm sorry I'm only seeing them at the end. We didn't have any technical difficulties this week. I think the audio ran fine, so we're going to be able to put this one up on our YouTube pretty soon. It's took us a few tries, but I think we've really, really got all the information. This is great. I want to thank Ben. Thank you, Ben, for kind of helping us out.
Thank you.
If you've been following us along on our on Facebook.com, you will have seen Facebook.com/digitalformation. You see all the links that we've put up today. And you can follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/digiformation. We're going to be at General Assembly in a few weeks. Come by to the booth. Come see us. Joseph and I will be there. Shake our hands. Get to know what General Seminary is up to. I think it's going to be really exciting. We have some great things in the pipeline I can't talk about yet, but I'm really excited that it's coming on. The Episcopal Church, I think, is in a really interesting spot right now to really get social media, and I think what we're going to see, its use at General Assembly. What's it called?
General Convention.
General Convention. I don't know what denomination I am anymore. You're going to see that there. So really exciting stuff. I think the church, the future of the church is really promising. All right. Thank you all. Have a great Friday. God bless and take care. And remember to have fun.